A few weeks ago, I went to this free sales seminar. Not technically sales, more like general persuasion. It was a free seminar, which meant you could expect about 2 hours of teaching and then a big pitch for the bigger, more expensive seminar. There were a couple dozen people there. It started at 10 and we broke for lunch around noon. One cool thing about places like this is you always meet a lot of interesting people. People that tend to go to these kinds of things tend to be a bit more outside the box kind of people than you'd meet down at your local bar or your local bookstore. People that are interested in learning new things about communication and hypnosis is a very powerful tool. Groups filled with these kinds of people always tend to lead to interesting conversations. And interesting conversations can meander all over the place and lead to some unexpected destinations. And this situation wasn't any different. One of the ladies there was somewhat attractive, and something about this lady made it seem like she was very, very wealthy. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I'm not sure how I could understand this, but that's the kind of vibe that she gave off. She said she was a seminar junkie. These are people who love to go to seminars. Some of these folks find a guru and then they follow this guru all over the place. Others are less specific. They like to attend seminars where they can learn new things. She was no different. She said it was her hobby, attending seminars, particularly the week-long seminars that are in exotic locations. She said that's the best place to find some very interesting personalities and have a lot of very interesting experiences. I mean, I guess it's one thing to spend a lot of money on a cruise or a vacation in an exotic location. But when you spend the day learning how to hypnotize each other, and then you spend the night practicing how to hypnotize new people around the bar at night, that's a much cooler experience. That's much better than lying on the beach or trying to get lucky on a singles cruise. When you can learn new things about human nature, when you can learn new things about human communication, when you can communicate with people on a much deeper level, a much more hypnotic level. She said she went to one seminar that was different from all the rest. This was the one that allowed her to start to become really successful, to become financially successful, to become socially successful. And she said this seminar teacher was different. She communicated differently. She taught a common type of an esoteric strategy, but from a much deeper hypnotic level. The basic idea of creating a sigil, a personal magical symbol that represents your deepest desires. But she did this under a very deep state of hypnosis, so there wasn't any interference from your conscious mind. She said that there are things that you want consciously, and then there are things that you want unconsciously, and that the source of self-sabotage is when there is a difference between the two. When your conscious mind wants one thing, but your unconscious mind wants something else. And because your unconscious always wins in the end, that's the level that she targeted. So she put people into a very deep trance so you could feel incredibly relaxed and release temporarily all those anxieties and worries. They'll still be there later if you decide you want to think about those things later. Or if you prefer, you can just forget about them completely. Anyhow, just think of the things you want. The things you want, but you aren't quite sure how to define them. Things that you want, but you aren't quite sure how you might get them. After all, there are some things that you want, but you're not sure if they're worth the costs. There are those things that you want, but you're not really sure if you're really supposed to get those things. You might remember a time now when you had a much different collection of ideas about what those things were. And you might start to associate a symbol with those things that you want. It doesn't have to be a thing. Maybe a time in the future where you can enjoy a much better life. Maybe a time in the future where you can enjoy a much better financial situation. Maybe a time in the future where you can enjoy a much more enjoyable social and romantic situation. You might begin to imagine a symbol associated with those future events. And as you focus on that symbol now, you might start to notice how your breathing has changed. And as you continue to notice your breathing, you might start to fill that symbol with your breath energy. You might even start to imagine now that the symbol is pulsing with your breath energy. And you can decide now to drop both the focus of your breath and the charging of your symbol deep down into your subconscious, so it can continue to gain energy all on its own. So long as you keep breathing, your symbol, your representation of your much better future, can continue to be charged with your breathing energy. She said they did that a lot of different ways over the course of the seminar, and she kept telling her and them to continue to relax even further. And she doesn't really know how or when it started, but pretty soon she was able to unconsciously and automatically release those blocks. Her life started changing. Income started to increase. Dating and romance started to improve all on its own. She wasn't even sure how this happened exactly. She wasn't even sure if she was able to remember this correctly. Or maybe she was able to remember this incorrectly. But she did tell us that there are a lot of interesting seminars to attend. Even though a lot of them don't make a lot of sense, even though a lot of this doesn't make a lot of sense, there's always some value here. I guess a couple of her businesses are running on autopilot, so they don't need a lot of attention. But there's enough demand and there's enough interest, so pretty much anybody can teach a seminar on pretty much anything. We still did more interesting things after lunch. It wasn't a total sales pitch. The guy didn't really do the heavy sales until much later in the afternoon. But most of the stuff we went through was stuff I'd seen previously, so I wasn't really interested in signing up for the full seminar. But a few people did, so the guy seemed to do pretty well. At any rate, it's always interesting to learn new things, and it's always interesting to meet new people. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. To learn more, please visit mindpersuasion.com.